Welcome in, episode number 35, Kevin Durant episode here on St0ner Sports Radio. Joining me again today is my good friend HotRod at HotRod is where you can find him on Twitter, HotRodyssey. We will be talking everything Game 2, and we will bring up what we think is going to happen tonight in Game 3. We'll talk a little bit about some video game news, get into the esports world for you nerds out there that live in the basement. I am one, and we will combine to make a wonderful community of basement nerds when we talk about this video game. Let's get it started. HotRod, how are we doing this afternoon here on a Wednesday, Hump Day City?
Let's make it inclusive of attic nerds too, baby.
That's right, baby.
Doing real good on a Wednesday Weeds Day.
Hey, there you go.
Appreciate you having me back.
Proper.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. So let's just hop right into this, right? So this series is tied at 1-1. A lot of people did not really see this happening at this point. I am one of those. As we all know, I picked the Nuggets about 3 months ago to get this job done. As far as winning it, I didn't think they'd be playing the Heat, but that's another story for a different time. Look, this was all about just a tale of two halves, right, HotRod?
Absolutely. I mean, the second half was all Heat, and I was with you thinking the Nuggets might even be able to sweep out in this series, and the Heat, that's been their mantra all year. Is just being a thorn, a bump in the road, and just looking at the way that game played out, and some of the like Gabe Vincent. I would not have said he was going to lead them in scoring, and Kevin Love made an appearance and made some actually good contributions. Like, didn't he get 10 rebounds? I see. That's none of those things were on my radar for happening, and so now the rest of the series is kind of wide open, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely. I mean, you look at the second half numbers here, getting outscored 60-51. Were the Denver Nuggets, and they kind of just got cold. They kind of hit this streak where they couldn't hit anything. And when you have a team that shoots 50% from the field like the Heat ended up doing, you're going to win a lot of basketball games. And you look on the other side, and it's not very different. 52% for the Denver Nuggets. Both these teams literally lighting it up from everywhere on the floor. The only disparaging part here was the three-point shooting. The Denver Nuggets shoot 40%, and Miami shoots 50% from three. That's the story for you. And to be honest, when you have Miami hitting 50% of their threes and shooting 7 more than you at 35-28, I mean, you're going to have problems. They hit 6 more threes than Denver. That's really the bottom line here.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it a little closer, I don't even know if it's a tale of two halves as much as just the fourth quarter. If you look at the first 3 quarters, it's pretty. I guess second quarter, my brain, I just can't read. It's like I saw it was 25-24, and 25-34. Denver was definitely thumping on them, but I mean, even in the third quarter, it was still Denver, and then fourth quarter is when everything changed. So I mean, it's a tale of two games, but I think it's really the full 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter, like you said, those threes started coming in, and the defensive stops and some of the meltdown started for the Nuggets, and it's just like, this is the team. Like, I don't know what you got to do. You got to beat this Heat team and put them down by 20 to really, I think, say they're out of it by the fourth quarter. Otherwise, I mean, they came back from that, and just as a betting man, if I see somebody who's up by 11, going into the fourth quarter, or going up, I guess they were up by 8-3. I can't do math. Something like that. They were up by 8. It's like in the NBA, 10 points, 8 points can swing fast.
Oh, yeah.
But you just assume, like the Nuggets, they were the favorites anyway, that they would put it away. And I don't know. I don't think you can count this Heat team out.
No, I don't think so either. You look at Jokic. I mean, he did everything, right? 16-28, 2 of 5 from 3, 41 points, 11 rebounds. But only 4 assists, right? That's really the story there. They were okay with Jokic destroying them in the points and rebounds category as long as nobody else was getting
No doubt.
involved. And I think that that's kind of the story here as well, is they didn't double him at all and forced players like Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray and, KCP, to beat them from distance, and they go a combined um, 6 of 16. I mean, that's just not going to do it. 6 of 16 from your top three 3-point shooters on your roster is not going to get the job done. I mean, I still commend Aaron Gordon for doing what he has done. I mean, only 12 points in this last game, but shooting the ball very efficiently, 5 of 7 from the floor and 2 of 2 on his threes. He's been kind of really the surprise bright spot here in the finals for the Denver Nuggets. Talk more about kind of how, even though the bench for Denver was way better on the plus minus scale, how the bench ended up kind of willing their way for Miami to win this game in the end.
I mean, the one thing I do notice is that, Denver doesn't play a very deep bench. They only go a few guys deep. And, it's like you look at the Heat, they go 10 deep. And some of these guys that come off the bench, like, I don't know, that Caleb Martin has started at times,
Yeah,
Kyle Lowry, like some of these dudes, they've been around. They've got, Duncan Robinson, who's had some moments. And you know, I just feel like there's so many different options for them, and they can play the defense, which, when you're trying to get back in games, it ultimately comes down to those stops and having some guys that they can, shoot threes and get hot, start chipping away at those leads quick. It's just kind of a dangerous recipe. You see it a lot in kind of college basketball too. Feels a lot like almost like one of those Villanova teams of like 2 or 3 years ago. It's like just plays defense, the little things they pay attention to, and then they start getting some hot shooting from outside, and you're next thing you know they're raising the trophy. So it's I feel like I've read a lot lately about Denver and that two man, Jamal and Jokic so much, and I think it's ultimately they've got to get somebody else who can pour in the points. Jamal, expecting him to get more than 20 or 25 is not really probable, but it's like, where else is it going to come from?
yeah,
Gordon, Porter Jr., like, he had 5 points, so 1 of 6 from three. You mentioned like these dudes were just stone cold at times, and I don't know, that bench, when you look at for the Denver's bench versus Miami's bench,
yeah,
like, where do you see instant offense? When I
yeah.
look at Denver's bench, Jeff Green, I mean, he's a wily vet, and I like him. He's a definite good addition, but he's not necessarily a guy who comes lights it up right away. And some of these other guys, it's like not really my first instinct when I think, but then like Duncan Robinson shooting threes, Kyle Lowry distributing, and coming in. I think of like Caleb Martin, like what he's done in the last couple games, especially in Boston. It's like that's a little more potent. It seems like, just at face value. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little not sure as confident about my Nuggets pick anymore, and
Yeah.
it's
I
looking
mean,
like it's gonna be fun.
yeah, I mean, this is exactly kind of what we wanted as far as entertainment value, right? I mean, we thought this was going to be kind of a ho hum, like, let's just, I guess Denver wants to win it in five so they can win it at home type talk. I mean, that was kind of, I was still kind of thinking that after this game, because I felt like Denver played the better game. I just feel like you said, down the stretch, it was more Miami making shots and Denver not. And I'm gonna quote the great Kelvin Sampson. He said, "It's a make or miss league. You look good when you're making shots. You look bad and worse than you are when you're missing them." And it really comes down to that. I mean, it's kind of a no answer kind of statement there, but it's Occam's razor. You miss shots, you're gonna lose, and that's kind of what happened in the fourth quarter for the Nuggets. They had all the momentum heading into that final frame. But like you said, Michael Porter Jr. has got to hit his shots. I mean, 1 of 6 at home is not going to do it, but that means tonight, as we kind of transition in here, I think he's going to probably go 4 of 5. That's just kind of the kind of player he is. He'll have a game where he can't hit the broadside of a barn and go 0 for 9, and then he'll come back and be 6 of 12 from 3 and just be assertive. And I don't think he needs anybody to tell him to keep shooting the basketball. I think that was apparent when he was at Missouri, and I think that that's apparent here at the next level as well. So give me your thoughts on where you think this game is going tonight. Big game for Miami at home. Take it away.
Yeah, so one of the things I've done this year that I don't normally do is I watched a lot of the post game pressers, like the NBA Twitch channel will show a lot of the post game stuff, and so I've seen Michael Porter. Oftentimes, it seems to not have these kind of reactions, just like you're saying, where they ask him like, how do you feel about going 1 of 6 or whatever, and his answers are always pretty confident. He's like, I have more confidence in myself than anybody else. I have to, and he'll come back and he'll make the shots, or he'll take them at least again. He's not going to be afraid to. So it ultimately comes down to, I think, the Heat, and Spoelstra, probably one of those coaches who is less likely than others to maybe overcompensate, and say, well, he's not hitting shots. Let's like maybe give him some extra. I mean, I don't feel like they will take a guy for granted and maybe let him become the unexpected dagger in this next game. And so like that's the one thing I feel like, this Heat team, they don't seem to overreact, especially when they get down. This just the emotional composure and intelligence of this team is kind of a different level. And so that's where I'm curious to see how the Nuggets react. And this playoffs, they've had a little bit of challenges, maybe more so in like the first round than any, but second round with the Suns. And like I just don't know, with that team never being here before. The Heat were just here not too long ago. The organization as a whole, Spoelstra's won his. They've got Pat Riley behind the scenes still giving these guys his insight, and I it's just it seems like a whole different series now. And thinking about tonight's game, it'll be interesting. That variable alone is just Michael Porter. If that stat line looks the same, 2 of 8, 6 rebounds isn't bad, but no real contributions on offense. And I don't know, like I'll pay closer attention to him on defense in this game
Yeah.
too, to see like is he just two ways a liability for him? Is this something the Heat are game planning around, trying to pick him?
Yeah.
Is like maybe his defense assignment he's drawing. I didn't watch the games close enough to see who he was D'ing up against a lot of the nights, but
Yeah.
if he's going against
Jimmy.
Bam or somebody
Yeah.
who's
Yeah. It's
Jimmy,
yeah.
yeah, calling his number all night long, um, that's just a whole other thing, is trying to get offense out of a guy who's drawing the toughest defense assignment of the night.
Yeah, I mean, and so same thing with Michael Porter Jr. Same thing with Max Strus, right? He goes 0 for 8 in game one, or sorry, 0 for 7, my bad, and then hits his first 4 threes of this ball game in the first quarter, keeping the Heat in this game when Denver kind of jumped up early on Miami here in the opening frame of game two. But here's the bad news: he misses his next 6 from 3 the whole rest of the game. But good news is Duncan Robinson hits 2 threes late, makes up for it. Kyle Lowry comes off the bench and gives you 2 of 3 from 3. I mean, these are the kind of plays that need to happen when a player like Max Strus hits ice in the second half, because that's what happened. Is he started off super hot, they're leaving him open in the corner, he's just stroking it, and he's feeling himself, he's screaming, like he's fired up, and then the next thing you know, he's hot to just start heat checking himself, and it just back rim, front rim, back rim. It was just, and they weren't even close. It was like, dude, I mean, I get it, you're hyped up, but I mean, like, you are taking way too many. I mean, he took more than anybody on the team that game. Jimmy takes 5, which is way more than he normally takes. Kevin Love takes 6, way more than he normally takes. I mean, everybody is jacking threes, and the only person that was shooting them well was Gabe Vincent. He goes 4 of 6. I mean, the dude was literally the most on fire I have seen a guy since maybe Kobe Bryant in the final situation. I mean, and that's high praise. I get that, but I mean, it seemed like boom, he's open in the corner, wetting it. In mid range, boom, got it. I mean, elbow jumper, boom, money. Crossover dribble, taking it to the rack. Up and under layup. In there, it was just, he couldn't miss. He only misses 4 shots the whole game. Gives you 23, is a plus 22 on the plus minus scale, leading the whole entire team. No surprise there. The only thing I kind of wish is he would kind of be more assertive on the glass. No rebounds for him. He did have 3 assists, and you gotta quit fouling. 4 personal fouls for Gabe Vincent. That's kind of the story as well as free throws, right? I mean, now, Denver only shot 2 more free throws than Miami this game, which is kind of impressive because normally in these home game environments, you get kind of some lopsided free throw numbers. But here, it was 18 to 20 for Miami and 19 to 22 for Denver. Do you think tonight's going to be called kind of the same way, or do you think that now that this has shifted down to South Florida, we see what I think will be Miami's probably best game that they play this series?
Well, I don't know if I might be wrong. Isn't the same officiating crew though? Either way, same place. Like if it's in Miami or Denver, it's the same crew for the series, right?
Uh,
So
let's see. There's 12 officials that they rotate.
there is a rotating
So there
cast.
is a
Okay.
rotation. So it will not be the same officials every game. So I think that's why I brought it up. I didn't think that was true, but it would make sense if it were.
Yeah, I mean, it's you never know. I when I start looking at officiating, I always say this, like if you're not paying attention or talking about the officiating, then that means they're doing a great job.
Hmm.
And I don't feel like last game there was a whole lot of places where I'm like, they're really affecting how this is going. And the first game maybe less. There might have been more of that. I don't know if I would agree with that as much, but I mean, I haven't seen anything too terrible. Like you said, the free throws seem fairly even, foul calls and everything so far. I'm hoping it stays that way. It feels like, to my point again, like the less we're talking about the refs, the more. And so far, nothing too much glaringly stares out at me at those, and I'm hoping it stays that way. I it just at this point in the game, like especially with Denver, I think Denver more than anybody, like Caldwell Pope had foul trouble. He fouled out. I feel like Denver is more vulnerable, like especially because they go with an 8-man rotation or whatever. Like you get one guy fouled out, those minutes start to pile up on the other guys. And KCP is one who's you know usually drawing a defensive assignment. He's usually, I guess, one of their grinders there,
Hmm.
right? So that ends up making Porter or somebody have to do that assignment, like we were talking about, and them having to carry that and offensively try to contribute. And so, for that fact alone, like I don't want this series to end up being one like it's a what if, like a Chris Paul injury or something that really
Yeah.
puts like a question in past years, like was that last year with the Suns or whenever, where it's like if he was there, maybe they
Hmm.
won.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, like that's my hope, is that this doesn't turn into that where the refs have some um, overhanded
Yeah.
effect on this, and it really seems to make Denver, like if they do get some home cooking down in Miami, that Denver's a team that would be more fall prey to it, because like I just said, you take KCP out, that rotation tightens, and then all right, here we go. And,
Yeah.
and if Jokic gets in foul trouble, fuck, it's over
Yeah.
instantly. There's no offense. Like if Jokic or Murray lose that offensive contribution, like I just don't see on this Nuggets team where it comes from. Where, like we were saying earlier with the Heat, if something happens offensively, maybe Kevin Love comes out and gets stupid hot. Maybe
Hmm.
Bam Adebayo. Like there's so many different guys that, like Caleb Martin had his night. Duncan Robinson, like wouldn't surprise me, right? Like with the Denver, it's like if you take those two guys out of the equation,
Yeah.
it's going to be a rough night. You know it.
Yeah, and that's facts. Now, this is interesting because I just looked at game one to see kind of how the free throws stacked up. Miami shot 2 free throws and Denver shot 20 of them. So kind of a disparaging mark there, 2 to 20 on the free throws in game one, um, in favor of the home team. Um, but I mean, again, I don't know how aggressive Miami was being considering they were shooting abysmally from the floor as a team in game one. And I think that was kind of just due to exhaustion from that 7 game series in Boston. I think a lot of people kind of saw that being the case. Jimmy was not very offensively aggressive that game. So I think I'm going to throw that out as far as kind of an outlier of data here as far as officiating goes, because I think we're going to probably see more of the same tonight, because I just think these teams are, again, getting more comfortable with each other. They're becoming more aggressive. And like you said, we didn't really talk about the refs after game two because we didn't need to, because it was, the fouls were pretty obvious. The calls were that, players were griping about were, very obvious by instant replay, the right calls. There was maybe one goaltending call that did not go the way of the Denver Nuggets that probably should have, on a Jamal Murray floater late in the third quarter, I believe is when that was. He floats it up and bam, bats it away, but on the way down. Not by much, but it was on the way down. You had to slow it down super, super slow, and I think that was really the only call. And in the end, you only lose by 3, so do you factor that in there? I really don't think you can. I think, like people say, one play does not really indicate the result of, especially an NBA game, when you have so many prolific athletes and scorers on the floor every single night. I think you give yourself multiple opportunities to overcome a couple bad calls. And so I think that if you want to hang on to that, if you're a Denver fan, go ahead. I'm not gonna blame you for that. But I think that, again, the refs have been good. I think the play has been good. And I think tonight's going to be another good game. I just fear that this is probably going to be the best Miami plays at home, and I think that it could get ugly if Denver falls behind by double digits. I think it could snowball, especially down there in that whiteout environment.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the momentum carries over and see how the Heat can ride this. If like you were talking about, they get a little more comfortable with each other. This is really my favorite part of these series now is like the chess match begins. It's like they start to make adjustments. We mentioned possibly letting Porter get some more open looks, or Denver maybe trying to pregame plan to get him more looks early. All these different things that start going into it and the strategy. And I gotta say, like I was watching again on Twitch, NBA's channel yesterday. They were showing an '84 finals with the Lakers and Celtics, and people all the time will talk about how it's so physical and it's like this was a game 4 that they were watching, so they're right there in the middle of this, making adjustments and knowing each other and feeling each other out, and like that basketball was just like, man, I cannot watch it. I cannot watch it. Like the strategy was so simple. It's like everybody stand in the paint.
Mm-hmm.
If Kareem gets it, everybody double team him or triple team him. And it was just like the guys on offense are just like kind of running around and like passing behind the back, like just handing off the ball. Like there's no higher level like motion or movement. And like it just, I guess, don't take for granted what we have, like in this match tonight, in this finals, like the basketball that we watch and the athleticism of these dudes. It is better than it was back then. Like it just, I'll always go to my grave, saying like that 80 set, like so once Jordan came in the league, and you still had Magic, you still had Johnson, you had Barkley and all these people, like the league then with like Malone and like 1987 to 92, I feel like was absolutely fucking like violent, basically.
Yeah.
Eastern Conference Finals with Anthony Mason and Charles Oakley, and
just fridges. Yeah, just fridges down low. Just literally appliances
Rodman,
down there.
Lambeer, what I mean? Like it was, but like this '84 series with old ass dudes and their socks pulled up, like calf muscles were illegal at the time, man. And it's like nobody was allowed to have protein powder or something back then. And like people are in the chat talking about it's so physical. Like look at that foul, look at that. I'm like, dude, like
We've seen people get their heads taken off in these playoffs. We've seen people bleed. It gets physical out there. And like you said, these athletes are bigger. They're more brawny. I mean, the game is way faster. I mean, there's plenty of factors that factor into that comparison, but I can see, this guy could be an HVAC guy out here passing this ball down to Kareem. I mean, I could be out there just dumping this thing into the post. I mean, holy shit. Yep. I mean, and that's, but like you said, that 87 to 92, you really go back and you look at those playoff series. I mean, they were physical. You had fist fights. You had things happen that you don't really see nowadays, but that could have just been a ton of cocaine. I mean, we don't know. I mean, it was just, drugs were rampant at the time. We don't know what really fueled most of that violent stuff, but I think you put cocaine and competitiveness in an arena, I think you get something. You got something stewing. You definitely do.
Give me more.
Yeah, give me more. Hit me. I think that's also, just one of those things where I think just the time that the sport was going on as well wasn't really its peak popularity either. It didn't really get super popular until like 93 to the 2000s, I think, was kind of where we saw this uptick in viewership and fandom for the NBA. It was mainly about college basketball still, and that still was not super popular at the time. It's definitely comparison, But I think again, this is definitely a definitely a different type of game, and Miami does bring that physicality to this series, and Denver kind of brings that that finesse. I mean, I don't know what to. I mean, look, Jokic will bang it down low. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, and I'm all for it. I mean, banging's great. But I think that you look at the shooters that they have, they're not kind of the guys that are going to beat you off the first step going to the rim. Now, Michael Porter can throw it down, and Aaron Gordon's a great dunker. I mean, we know this. But in games, they're not really going to drive to the basket. Now, Gordon's going to back it down, but that's because he's put on some weight. I mean, you can tell this dude has packed on the pounds in the last couple of years, and so he's a different animal than he was when he first played for Orlando. And you can just tell that by just his physique. He has packed on the lbs to try to fit that mold of a good 3-4 kind of hyper combo big guy. And people forget how good of a player he was. So I think that, he's really reminding us about his efficiency and what he brings to the table. Still a -7 on the plus minus in this last game, but shooting the ball very well from the floor.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know. Thinking of this game, the more and more I think of it, the less certain I am, and I used to just think so strongly it was Nuggets, and it's just like all these different things, though these factors. It's um, I I can't. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Look, I
tough
just
now.
yeah, I just I cannot even at this point really
This is pivotal.
speculate
This is pivotal.
because
Tonight is pivotal. I think that's
absolutely.
really the earmark here is if Miami loses this game, then all the pressure on them to win Game 4. Because if they don't, then good night Vienna. But I think that if you can win this first game, which I think Miami will get the job done tonight. I think there's going to be a lot of factors, like you said, going into it. But I think that this is prime for them to take Game 3, and I think and maybe even put the pressure on Denver to try to pick one up here on the road, which they're fully capable of doing, and we know that because we know that they are the better team as far as overall talent. When you have a team that has to go 10 deep to stay competitive at times, and you're only going 8 deep at the most, I think that says a lot about the talent you have in your starting five and the trust you have at them to stay on the floor, stay out of foul trouble, and continue to produce for you. So, again, huge game tonight. The 2.5 point spread for Denver is moved to 3 now. The live spread here on DraftKings has moved from 2.5 to -3 for the Denver Nuggets. And I'm gonna be honest, I like Miami to cover that tonight and to probably win outright.
Oof, that's tough. I mean, I was distracted because I was trying to get some clarity on Tyler Hero and seeing, like he's definitely out for tonight,
Hmm.
and I don't know if that is something that might have added that extra half point or, um, but oof, it's so hard to try to like make any predictions of what's going to happen in this thing. And I do think that Miami might end up winning this series, but I'm not sure of tonight. I mean, it's just like, but where does it start? Did they start last game? Is the momentum there, and then will Denver have to try to steal home court in the game 4? That does seem more likely. Maybe that the Heat would take this one, and then down 2-1, Denver gets their shit together in a game. But if Hero's able to come back at all, um,
That
and
changes everything.
I completely ruled him out and didn't realize that he might still somehow play. And they're saying, they're encouraged, taking it day by day, but definitely out for tonight.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I don't know the fact that they were even looking or thinking about game time decision. And so, but yeah, I guess for tonight I'm taking that spread, and I do think the Heat ultimately might win this thing now. I'm not betting any real money on that on the series. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, now I took the imaginary spread of Heat plus 5.5 the other day before any of this, before the Game 2 was even over. This was at halftime of uh,
Mm,
of Game 2 when we were recording our last episode. Not us, but the podcast. And
mhm.
the live total for that game at one point was 220.5, and it dropped all the way down to 211 by the end of the third quarter. Now, people ended up sweating it out, obviously, because it ended up being a 218, or sorry, 219 total. So if you took that 220, which me and Zach took it, at the half as one of our picks for last episode. We were sweating it out, not thinking we would have to, but we were sweating it out there with that Jamal Murray 3 at the end. We were like, we don't need overtime, all right? Like, that's the last thing we need over here for our
Mm,
picks here for the Stoner Sportsbook. But look, tonight, over under 214 and a half, that's 207 apiece. Someone with getting 208, or sorry, 108. Possibly. And I kind of like this line, but I kind of like the under here because the under has hit the last 2 times these teams have played, and I think it's because of that Miami defense.
yeah, I know last time I got burnt bad taking the over with the Celtics and Heat, and that I think barely scraped 198, and the over was like 220 or some shit. Uh, so I mean, they did have 2 days off. I feel like the offense is at this point probably humming it best as they can before these defenses get it all figured out. I don't. I'm taking the under. I'm,
Take the under 214 and a half.
I mean, it's like in the grand scheme of things, they have 0 points right now. Like somebody's got to make a point, and so taking the under is just like I don't know if something happens and just like a 4 minute dry spell happens. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it just I don't know. It's not real money, so it's
yeah, but you got to think about it like it is. It's no fun if you don't.
Oh, I know.
But let's just refresh and let everybody know how good you did last time, picks wise, because I enjoy a good picking,
I
and
don't think they
and
were
and
good.
let's be honest. If you take a look here at the sheet here, you are in the second to last column here, sir. And as you can tell, we didn't do very well on episode 31, as I go 1-3 and 0-3, and you went 0-4 and 0-3 in our picks here as we expose our incompetency live here. We did take the Heat +8. That did not happen. We took the over at 215 and a half. That didn't happen. You took the Cardinals -1.5 runs. That didn't happen. I took the Rockies. That was the only thing I got right. The Mariners let me down, and your White Sox let you down. And so obviously none of the locks worked out. Hey, it was rough. Hey, it's rough.
Yeah.
And going into this, being 6-8 isn't terrible. We can rebound from 6-8, and it starts tonight. It starts tonight for you, sir. So don't fret. Things are looking up. So first 2 picks, we got that underway. Let's go ahead and shift here into let's see. Let's go ahead and shift into finals series predictions here. Miami Heat +225 right now. The Nuggets -275 here to win this series right now, as we're tied at 1 game apiece. Finals MVP voting. You want to, take a gander at that and take a stab at it. Butler is +475. Jokic -265. Jamal Murray +4,000. I kind of like that. If I'm gonna reach for somebody, +4,000, I think Jamal Murray is a good number 2 pick there, because that very well could happen if Jokic ends up disappearing at all in this series. I don't see a Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Finals MVP. I'm not gonna take a stab at that. But
That's
they've also
that's the value.
yeah,
Gabe Vincent.
yeah, Gabe Vincent's. I mean, Bam is right behind Jimmy for the overall third favorite. But there are some kind of fun prop bets if you want to go that route. This is for the whole series, for the rest of it. So like Bam Adebayo to score 30 plus in a game, Caleb Martin to score 30 plus, Michael Porter Jr. 30 plus, a Denver Nuggets player to score 50 plus. Any player to score 55 plus. Jimmy Butler 50 plus, Jokic 50 plus is on here. 10 plus assists for Jimmy is on here. Bam Adebayo 14 plus rebounds. That seems like a not a bad one to happen once. Jamal Murray a 40 plus point game. That seems like that could happen any given night.
Throughout the series?
Yeah, throughout
Those
the
are all like
series.
anytime?
Yeah, anytime throughout the series. I mean, that's. I mean,
Somebody's
these
gonna
are.
go for 50. Like Jokic went for 41 last game. I feel
Yeah,
like somebody going for 50.
yeah. At plus 3,000, that's a that might be a decent stab. So if any of these tickle your fancy, you can put that down, and we'll keep that as one of the picks because the last two are MLB, so we can carry one over for the rest of the time you're with us in during this finals run. That way you can just be relieved that you have one already set for you.
I think, yeah, Bam's definitely going to get 14 plus over some time at some point in this.
Yeah, you like Bam Adebayo plus 14 rebounds.
I'd like that, yeah. Especially if Kevin Love doesn't play. Like, I mean, one game of Kevin Love not getting 10 rebounds, that's Bam. There's 5 of those rebounds could be Bam's. There you go. But yeah, I don't know, that's tempting. Somebody scoring 50, but I mean, again, it's like 50 points. That's a lot of points.
Yeah,
Anytime I'm looking at like bets or spreads where it's like, a team's got to win by 41. That means that somehow they have to, like, thinking of college football. It's like somebody's got to at least 41. They got to win by 41. Like it happens easy, but it's like there's always a chance that just somehow the other team grinds out a long drive that order and then boom.
yeah. I mean,
So
I also like the mine. I'm going to take is Max Struess, 5+ 3 pointers, at plus 425. I
he
like
shot 4 last time.
yeah I like Max Struess,
Hmm.
5+3s in series as one of mine that we will carry over. I'm also going to take the under as well. I didn't say that, but I'm taking the under for the total here. As we move on here to baseball, I mean, again, this is on DraftKings, folks. If you want to go out and do these, some of these look pretty good. I mean, Nikola Jokic, 15 plus assists. He's done it before. He could do it. They limited him last game. They could make adjustments. He could go bananas tonight. Nikola Jokic, 20 plus rebounds is on here. Are you kidding me? The dude's had 20 plus rebounds in like 8 or 9 games this year, and that's at plus 500. So you can go ahead and pair that with the 50 pluser and get you a new house. Yeah, put a bill on that, get you a new car. It's I am telling you, some of these. I mean, the Jamal Murray, like I said, 40 plus points. Bam, 30 plus. That might be a stretch, but he's been shooting very well. Um, but any Denver Nuggets player to score 50 plus is at plus 2,500. So if you don't think it's Jokic, you want to just double on somebody in a Denver Nuggets jersey to drop 50 plus. I mean, you have two players that are fully capable. So I mean, there's definitely some stuff on here that's fun to think about. Aaron Gordon to score plus 20 points again. We'll
That
see
one
if
seems pretty much a lock. Aaron Gordon to score 20 plus.
I mean, he only had 12 last game. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's but that's any game. That's any game. That's just for the rest of the
Yep.
series. So I mean, if they're blowing him out and they keep Aaron Gordon on the floor for extra minutes because they don't need to, have somebody in there. I mean, that could be some garbage time kind of stuff going on. So we'll kind of see how that shakes out. So good luck to anybody who's putting their putting their dinero on some of these things. I give you props because I mean they're some good stuff. Let's go over some baseball here. We'll do tomorrow's games. Your Reds are taking on the Dodgers. Do we want to talk about the amazing comeback of the Cincinnati Reds last night on the 6th?
Playoffs, baby. My shirt's backwards for some reason because of camera things I don't understand. But
No, it's not for us.
Ellie De La, it's not okay.
No,
Perfect.
not for
Ellie De La
us.
Cruz, Ellie De La Cruz, baby. He's in the bigs now, and you could just see last night's team something was different, and they weren't out of it even when they were down 8-3. And I said to my friend, I'm like, I think he's Joey Votto, Ken Griffey Jr., and Barry Larkin all in one. I mean, he's that fucking good, and the future's maybe now, but not tonight against the Dodgers. It's not. Um, Granted, I will bet money against my team just so that I either win money or the team wins, and I'm happy either way. And I bought a win last night for $15 by betting against the Reds. But Graham Ashcraft is pitching tonight, and he's not doing real good this year. So, um, bet your money against the Reds having at least maybe bet something like who's winning after 5 innings?
Yeah, yeah. If that's
Because
a
the Reds may not be out of it anymore. I mean, they may every game for the rest. I love this team now. Um, I do still wish we would get a better catcher. They could bring up Chucky Robinson would be a great young catcher to give some time. But um, without turning this into a Reds podcast, it's just getting interesting down there. But they are playing the Dodgers, and Graham Ashcraft has struggled this season, so I'm not betting on the Reds winning.
yeah. Well, if you want to look how broken um, uh, DraftKings is right now, they've got the Cincinnati Reds logo by the New York Yankees name. They've got the Arizona Diamondbacks logo by the Houston Astros name. They got the New York Mets with the Orioles logo. I mean, some problems here on DraftKings I'm looking at right now. But hey, I mean, all those teams are in action, so it's not completely inaccurate. So I'm guessing you're taking the Dodgers minus the 1.5.
I like I said, I'll bet against the Reds, knowing that if they win, I'll be happy either way. And so, I want to put it on the record that I do think this team makes the playoffs, but their starting pitching is still a big iffiness. Ashcraft was pretty good last year, hasn't been this year. Weaver, who pitched last night, is not a long-term solution. And they're going with a 6-man rotation right now, and it's like, dude, just take one of the guys out of it. And I'll always hate our fucking manager because of it, but nonetheless, I think despite him, this team will still make the playoffs. And it's just tonight against the Dodgers, who mash. I mean, those dudes just like, you look at the lineup last night. Everybody's got like 7 or 8 or more home runs for the season, and they're playing in Great American Ballpark, which is easy to hit home runs out of. So
Yeah.
look into the game's over, the total score for the over.
Oh, so over 10 runs. Okay.
Yeah. Take that. Then I don't have to bet against my Reds.
Yeah. Over 10 runs at minus 115. So my first game, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to take the Mets plus 1.5 over the Braves. Look, the Mets have been playing like trash, but I think they're still one of the most talented teams in the league. Justin Verlander pitching tonight for the Mets, had a bad game last outing. I think he pitched 4 innings and gave up like 4 runs or something like that. It was terrible. He's old as crap. But I mean, I think that I think they get the job done tonight against the Braves. Braves are a good team. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. They're going to hang around as one of the top dogs in their division. So I think it'll be a close game. But I think the Mets probably pull it out. They might only win by 1 run, so I might be wrong on this. But they might lose by 1 run, so I might be wrong on this. But if they lose by if they lose by more than 1 run, man, I am just all over the place. I'm sorry. So I'm gonna choose that as my first MLB pick. Where are you going with your second? I've got White Sox, Yankees. I got Orioles, Brewers. I got Diamondbacks, Nationals, Cubs, Angels.
Tonight's games, right?
No, tomorrow. We're doing tomorrow.
Oh shit. Was I betting the Reds for tonight or tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, I was betting Ashcraft. Yep. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Tonight's game, if you're just looking for some money, I'd bet the over on it too.
Okay, over 11. Okay.
Well, just for people in general, if you're wanting to bet some money on Wednesday, June 7th, the over for Dodgers Reds with rookie Brandon Williamson and then fucking washed up Noah Syndergaard, there's gonna be some home, and it's gonna be a breezy night in Riverfront. So let me think here. Looking at Thursday's games. Let's see. Oh my goodness. I have not watched a shit ton of baseball, but I know the White Sox burned me last week, so take the Yankees. Was that an op, or did you not give me
Yankees
that
minus 1.5?
Yeah, take the Yankees at home against the dirtbag White Sox. Mike Clevenger, who used to be an Indian, I remember watching. I think he went to the Padres and was kind of a waste of space for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about really anything happening right now as far as baseball is going, as far as just who's playing well and who's not. That's kind of the gist of what I know. But I am going to go ahead and I'm going to take I'm going to take the Brewers. I'm going to take the Brewers plus the 1.5 against the O's. Look, the O's burned me last time. That's my reasoning. The O's burned me. I can't. So I'm gonna take the Brewers. That's the only reason why. Okay, I don't need a reason. That's the only reason I need. So, that's where we're going with that. Which three do you want to make your locks, sir? You gotta pick three, and I'm not gonna let you pick the Bam plus 14 rebounds for the series.
Uh, I like that Yankees one pretty solid.
Okay. Okay.
Um, what other things did I pick? The
Yanks.
over for tonight's game. I picked under.
Yeah, I picked the under 214.5, the Heat plus 3, and the Dodgers minus 1.5.
Can I make that Dodgers the total game score? Was that an option?
You want the 10 runs?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I'd make that a lock. I
Okay.
think Kershaw's pitching. I mean, Kershaw's pitching, but I'm telling you, Ashcraft's bad enough. He may give up all 10 runs. I mean, I don't know why he's bad, though. So frustrated because last year he was good, and now
Just not playing well.
he's been getting shelled. And at home, he's given up 8.5 runs.
All
Like
right.
I said, for real, Ashcraft might give up all 10 runs. His last outing against the Brewers, he was on the hook for 10 earned runs.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Maybe today's his day. How do you want to finish? You got two baseballs. You want to go any NBA? You want to stick with? No, it's gonna have to be. Got the under or the Heat plus 3. Which one? Which one are we? Which one are we swinging?
Let's go with the under.
Under. Okay, so we're gonna go with the under 214. Under 214.5 is the third one. I am going to start with that one. I'm going to go the under 214.5 as my first lock, folks. So lock that one in. I'm also going to lock the Heat plus 3 because I think this is just their night tonight. And, quote me on that and bash me when I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be. And for my last one, we'll go ahead and take the Mets. I think the Mets are going to surprise people tonight and take down the Braves. I think Verlander is going to actually pitch decent, which would be a surprise to Mets fans. And I think that they get the job done. The bats have not been going well for the Mets. I know that. So they got to pick up the pace as far as that's concerned. I haven't really seen anything noteworthy from them other than just irate fans on Twitter just bashing them. Don't think they played last night. I just kind of wanted to see how they did last night. They did play. They did play the Braves and lost by 2 last night. But like I said, I mean they're going to hang around, and I think that being 30 and 31 isn't great. But they still have a lot of time to make that up. If anybody knows that, it's baseball fans. So it's not looking good right now, but I think tonight goes well for the Mets. So lock that one in, Mets fans, and I'll pray for you. So let's get into this final topic. I'm excited to talk about this because us addict basement dwellers, we love a good if I had only been able-bodied kind of argument here. So it's come out, EA Sports, they're making that college football NCAA 24 game coming out next summer. Is when it's supposed to release next July. And they came out with a statement, someone came out with a statement saying that players are being advised by their counsel not to opt in to the EA Sports likeness agreement. It's been reported that EA is only going to offer the top tier players $500, and the rest are up to $500 in total. So if you're like a fourth string offensive lineman, you might get $50 or $100. If you're a second stringer, you might get $400. Third stringer $300. I think that's probably what EA is looking to try to do. And as far as NIL money, we know that these players can make more doing other things. And I think that's kind of The point that their council is trying to make is, don't get lowballed by EA just because they want to use your likeness so they can make millions of dollars. Now, it has come out as well that the number reported that EA would have to pay out in total for every player they want in the game is about $9.5 million, which, just to put it in perspective, most AAA companies do not invest that much money into using, for instance, a celebrity's likeness. So whenever you have like a video game like Dead by Daylight, where now they have Nicolas Cage coming to the game, like they're probably not paying Nicolas Cage over $9.5 million for his character that they are making for that game. And now, whether he's going to be a killer or not in that game, that's a different conversation for another time. But it's interesting that they're putting Nicolas Cage in the game. But I guarantee you, they're not paying him $9.5 million or more for his likeness. And I think that's, and it's made by a good studio and a AAA studio, so that's just putting it in perspective for people that aren't familiar with the video gaming world and how assets are obtained for games and stuff. It's more the labor intensive process, and money goes to graphics development and motion capture and stuff like that for different aspects of games. And not usually for likenesses and assets. What's your perspective, HotRod, on whether or not these players should take the money or just let EA just go all generic here?
First question is it an exclusive, right? So, to your point, and you mentioned not getting lowballed, it's if you sign this deal, is it the only one and no one else? If 2K makes a game, or some of these other third party game, like we've seen a lot of enhancements or improvements in the non AAA football game development, and is there some way that one of those people swoop in and give like performance incentives, or like amount of games sold, it's all contingent on something, and I guess that pending the answer to that, supposing it's an exclusive, then I mean you got to look real hard at what your decision is. But I would be really probing into this whole tiered like payment. What is that based on? Last year's statistics? Like how is it determined? Like because he starts at Ohio State, he gets more. But what if that guy gets hurt and this third string guy ends up actually winning a award as the best center? You know what I mean? Because the guys that start and the guys that are on the roster may not end up being the dude that ends up the starter at the end of the season, or ends up having a major Heisman breakout season or something that was unexpected. So as an athlete and a way to sweeten the deal, I would think that you would maybe make those tiered payments based on maybe how your ultimate team card's selling. If you were doing some of those things like Madden does, where you adjust player ratings through the year based on real statistics, then if that guy at the end of the year goes to the Heisman, like does he get more money? You should basically do it just like a NFL or professional athlete structures their contracts with incentives. If you get an all pro selection, you get paid more. If you make a playoff appearance, if you start at least 12 games, if you get 1,000 yards rushing, like do that stuff. So the only kind of competition or like positive or influence on players is just positive, because they're trying to ball out so that their card is a higher rated card, so more people are using it in their ultimate team. And then maybe that, like how much the fucking virtual coins are going for, has some translation to actually how they're paid. You know what I mean? Like having something dynamic or that's incentive laden would be in everybody's interest. And then it seems like from a fairness perspective, maybe the players would buy into it.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, hey, you're a third string guy. Based on their old system, you may not get paid at all. But if you play in a fucking Ohio State offense and they fucking play 5, 6 wide receivers, you may end up rising to the top. Somebody, gets in trouble. Someone fucking beats their girlfriend up, sadly, or some kind of bullshit thing happens that they're off the field
Yeah,
now.
caught for weed or
Like,
something stupid. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, anything. And it's like having some of those safety nets or catches in there, I think is what I as a player would want. It's like, hey, you're telling me you're not going to give me any money. Fuck you. I'm out.
Yeah.
Or if you're telling me that right now, currently, you may not, but by the end of the season, here are all these things that you could do, just like I said, a pro athlete gets in their incentive contract. It's like if you have started a certain number of games, if you have stayed healthy, played the
Well,
whole year.
and here's
Um,
and here's the good news. It's not a tier layer payment thing. Everybody's getting $500. So I just read that. So everybody would get $500. So now the problem is
everybody,
ev-
everybody,
everybody,
everybody.
everybody, everybody. So everybody gets $500, and I think that's why the price tag is so steep. Now originally the price tag was like $5 million to pay all these players. I think because they made it 500 for everybody, no matter what position or string you are. I think that's why it boosted to $9.5 million and almost doubled. But this is the College Football Players Association that's organizing this boycott right now, and the reason is their lawyer is saying, look. Madden players get paid 17 to 28 grand for their likeness. Why are these players getting paid $500? And to that I say, well, how many NFL players are there in comparison to the
A lot
thousands of
fewer.
college athletes? I mean, it's all about perspective. I get that the top players holding out makes sense, right? Like a Drake May or a Caleb Williams wanting to get more than $500, that's fine. But this opt-in clause they have will not allow them to negotiate any of that pricing. It's locked in at that, and they're trying to fight that. Now they're using Madden as like a measuring stick here, saying, "Oh, Madden makes $600 million per year. They can afford to pay the players more," which I believe is true. But if I believe that there is going to be like a MUT type game mode for this, which is where, if you're not familiar, folks, is where you buy these virtual packs, and these packs have players in them, and the ratings depend on how much real money you're spending to buy these tokens, and then the tokens are used to buy the packs, and the packs have like a certain percentage of chance of you getting a really good card, and it's technically like gambling. But now these packs have started to guarantee at least one of these things, so it's less gambling, so they're allowed to maneuver around some of this legal
Kind of
jargon. Yeah.
fantasy sport too. Get these
Yeah.
all-time lineups and things.
Yeah, so it's and so that's where most of the revenue from Madden comes from, because nobody plays franchise mode anymore because it's broken. You back out and you lose games after you win them. It was very bad this last iteration, and so we see where the focus is for EA. And what I've heard is the good thing is they're not really focusing on that game mode, which might also be why they're trying to lowball players. But also, I think EA is just full of scumbags. I think that's pretty much what it's is we're talking about a scumbag AAA organization that has time and time again let sports fans down, let gaming fans down in general. They don't just make sports games. EA makes a lot of other games, and they have also been kind of flops at times and have bugs that other games and just games upon release shouldn't have. If you're actually doing your due diligence and actually doing what you're being paid to do from at these studios. So I mean, there's a lot of factors here, HotRod. There really is. But the players don't seem to be very outspoken against doing it, right? Because like EA says, the upside is kind of too good. Like, you're going to be in a game that is going to be around even after you're dead. I mean, for if we don't blow up the planet or something. I mean, it'll be available just like you can get old Atari, systems now. It'll be around. It's not going anywhere. There's going to be physical copies of this. There'll be digital evidence of this for centuries. If the cloud stays intact and all this other stuff. But I mean, you get what I'm saying. It's more about the fact that you're a part of something, and something that the gaming community, especially sports gamers, have been yearning for almost over 10 years.
Absolutely. I mean, I still know people. I guess once you know them forever. But I mean, I knew and continue to know people who it's like, on NCAA football 2004, fucking third string left guard at Bowling Green was me, dude. It's like, oh, that's cool. Okay, like I mean, that's just random as fuck,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like, and somebody like when I used in my dynasty. I can't remember Darrington Evans. He's a streamer, and like it was so cool to go into his stream and be like, dude, when I was playing the game, you were my Heisman winner 3 times in a row, and now I'm watching you play it. Like those kinds of moments don't exist if you don't buy in.
Mm-hmm.
$500 for that guy means very little. And it's like they'd probably be more interested in saying, "Give me a next gen console with a version of the
Right.
$500 value," but
Yep.
that to the person might mean more, especially some of these kids who are like from where I'm from. It's like PlayStation 5, like that's cool. Like I'm on the game, but I don't play it. But like I think some of that, you buy into it for just non-monetary reasons. But my, I guess, question or the thing that immediately comes to okay, so we've seen over the years how they've made players, but they're not technically those people, right?
Hmm.
Like I was just saying, that guy that's the starting or third string lineman, like that guy's name wasn't on there, but it was based off of somebody.
Hmm.
You know, Tebow had his likeness thing and pushed the envelope selling him, even though it was obviously him, it wasn't him. This whole thing goes back to what do you do if your team has opted in? Is it going to be like Super Tecmo Bowl QB1 Eagles? Like, but do you have to say everything's? Is it going to be like Bizarro Superman's like situation? If you have, like, say last year, trying to think of a quarterback like, God damn it, why can't I think of anything? Ohio State's quarterback, Stroud. You know, like, do you basically make a guy who's not as tall and he's short and he's a completely different color, different hairstyle? Like, how do you put a player on the team to fill his place and not have any questions around likeness, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do to
I
avoid it?
I think you just
Are
got to
they going
make
to
them
get
a
these
completely
random?
different race. You just have to. I mean, if it's a white quarterback, make it black. I mean, it's you have to be able to avoid those things, right? Because like you said, even when it's just number whatever, it's like and there's no name attached, you can tell like who the fuck that's supposed to
Yeah,
be. Like you load up NCAA 13. It's all numbers, but you know that the quarterback with dreads is RG3. Like you know that's supposed to be RG3. And that's because that's what
goes
they're
back
trying
to
to emulate. It's a
QB
simulation
Bills,
game.
right?
Yeah, I mean it's that's their job, so that's what they want to do. And right now the only thing for these good players that they can do to help themselves is obviously the top athletes are expected to be able to sign like one-off marketing deals to promote the video game. So you might see them on like a Twitter ad, holding up the
Commercial.
case, or whatever, or they might upload a video to YouTube of players that were in the game playing the game against each other. I mean, that used to be a big thing with Madden as well. Um, old promo type stuff. And also, they could approach one team partners and strike a one-off deal with their agent to see if they can boost, just their payout. But like the CEO for EA is saying, is there's more value in the fact that you can say I'm in a video game than $500 could ever really pay you. But I like your idea better. I say give them next gen consoles, give them a copy of the game because, like you said, that's a $500 value. Now I get some of these guys, $500 is $500, and they want to be able to go out and buy groceries or clothes or whatever, or pay bills from the apartment if you're living off campus. If you're not one of those star players, there's no really special treatment for you as far as like on campus housing and stuff like that. So I mean, some of those guys they might just want the cash anyways, but give them the option, right? Give them the option. Do you want the console or the game, or do you want just a check? I mean, and I think that's a fabulous idea. I think that people are really sleeping on that thought, so I'm glad you brought that up because that makes more sense to me. Because if I'm a player, I would probably want the next gen console in the game because not only do I have a console where I can get other games for it, but that's the most expensive part of being in the video game world right now is being up to date on consoles and being able to play these new games coming out and stuff like that. So I think that gives you just as much value, if not more, than just $500 because you have the nostalgia and this permanent, record of your existence in this video game or your likeness, and you have something that can also entertain you in other facets as well. So I think that that's a great idea.
And if you're one of my Ohio State boys, you may opt for payment and tattoos. But I mean,
It's true.
you could sign that PlayStation and sell it for a couple, a little markup,
Yeah, and I
or
and
go
I
ask
yeah.
the best player on your team to sign it. But
If you don't think if they choose a cover athlete, they're not going to be signing cases and sending them out as giveaways or as promotional items for their merch store, I think you would be insane. Because they would just probably upmark it by $200. You're paying $260 for a copy, but it's signed by Caleb Williams. And it's like that's cool because you look at some of the cover athletes for this game, and they haven't always panned out at the next level. It's like Ingram. Okay, I mean he was all right. I mean he's not fantastic. Tim Tebow not great. RG3 if he hadn't get hurt, I mean maybe a different story. Was still phenomenal his rookie year. You look at some of these guys, Marcus Mariota, not really, what you
Williams,
what?
Ricky
Yeah,
Williams
Ricky
was on
Williams,
one.
but Ricky Williams was actually good though. That was
Joey Harrington,
yeah,
not so good.
not so good. Yeah, so I mean there's been times where they've kind of missed
Carson
on
Palmer was on
Carson,
one, I
yeah,
think.
Carson Palmer, yeah, USC quarterback. I don't know if
But
Matt Leinart was on one. Troy Smith, I
Reggie
believe,
Bush,
was on one.
I think Reggie Bush was on one. Wasn't there a year where they both were? They had like different covers. There was like one year where there was multiple
Yeah, like
versions
it
of it.
depended on what, if it was PS3 or PS2 or Xbox 360. It depended on which console you had, and that would be the determination of what cover athlete was on the game. Yeah, I remember that. Same with Madden at the time as well. It was like different athletes. Um, I don't think it was different on any other like sports game, but I think those two, yeah, it was like different. But yeah, so I think this is just kind of a thing that's trying to scare a lot of NCAA players into being like, oh God, like, like you better opt in. Like, I mean, like I'm wanting the game, but you have to understand, like these players also want the game. But you have to understand that the last time that they were able to play an NCAA football game, they were like 8 or 7. You know, what I mean, like it's it's sad to think about as someone who's almost 30, but it's like
Yeah.
as someone who's like a 21-year-old or an 18-year-old, like you were 4 when that game
You
came
were
out. Like
playing your dad's.
yeah,
You were
you're
playing
playing
your
your
dad's
dad's
game.
copy. Yeah, you're playing your dad's copy of the game on your dad's old console. And, so they might not have the same nostalgic factor that someone like you or me might have, where we're like, oh, duh, just fucking do it. And they might be like, oh,
Yeah.
that's fucking bullshit. Like, Fortnite would give me more money for a skin than you're giving me to be in this game, where my likeness will be used for packs and promotional items, and I'm in the game and my name is actually in here. And I like the fact that the names might be in here, but you're talking again to guys where we're used to having nothing for us, just the bare bones pretty much of a roster that kind of looks like what you're wanting to look at, and some things are completely right, some things are way off. You have to fix it yourself. We're used to that, so we don't have a problem with a game coming out without these players' involvement, other than maybe the top 100 players' likenesses in here. I don't think that really matters to us, because we talked about this off pod about how people around the internet, they have forums where you can just download these rosters and just plug it in with a USB and get going. I
Yeah.
mean, it's easy to fix this problem, and we've done it with EA for years now, and we continue to do it with old games. And I think that people making a big deal about this are overreacting. You're right to be mad, if you want to be mad about it, but I don't think there is really a reason to be angry, because whatever happens, as long as this game comes out and it's a good product, I fucking don't care. I just don't. I mean, I just want to play it. I just want an updated game. I want something that runs better, has more logic to it. I want a better recruiting system. I'm tired of this just tack on a points to a player type stuff. And if you're having trouble following along, folks, I apologize, but this is just kind of this is kind of a big deal for us.
Absolutely. And I mean, EA Sports, you mentioned that they're kind of a dirtbag company, and there's no accident or coincidence that these games aren't on, play or PC. That EA does the least, and 2K doesn't do much better, but does the least to put these things on PC for people who have systems who are hyped up and ready to play higher quality games than what a PlayStation 5 can even do. But with that said, it's like specifically an attack on what you're talking
On
about
what?
doing with
Attack on what? Sorry,
roster
you cut out there.
mod like modders,
Oh
people
yeah,
who
yeah,
mod
yeah.
roster modders, like what you're talking about. We have to do on Xbox 360 with fucking jump drives, take them out and put them into Horizon, do all these things. It's like if you had a decent PC version of the game, we would be doing that with just a drag and drop into a
Mhm.
folder. And it's like it's obvious that they don't want that, but the thought that starts creeping up into my mind while we like with players who hold out because I'm better and whatever. Where does it stop to where it's like I'll be on the game, but you better make me a 99 over? Or with name and likenesses deals, I have money from other sources that maybe I can pay you or somehow, or like my marketing agency or whoever these people are that have a vested interest of hyping me the fuck out, and they want me to be the best player on this game just because it will rise your draft stock in some way of word of mouth kind of buzz. Like there's all this dirtiness around how these ratings and rosters get done, and there's always griping and bitching about how good they are anyway. Open it up to the modders. Let us, the world, do it in a democratic process where we're doing it based on just observations with no dirtiness, It just seems too easy to
Well,
say like these hand-picked top dog dudes
yeah,
can say like I'm not going to be in it unless you pay me more or make me better or you got to give my dude some kind of special cleats on the game, some kind of, what I mean, like exclusive thing. Like it's going to go down those roads at some point, and not any way could it be fair. And so I think you fucking just go completely outside of the
yeah,
NCAA Players Association. What if Madden said, "Hey, all you top dudes, we'll do that version of Madden where it's college, and we just won't use Tar Heels or we just won't
hmm,
use whatever." You know what I mean? And we'll just use it's the Carolina team that's teal and
yeah,
instead of Tar Heel blue. And it's just like fuck it, and then pay the kids that you want to have on the game, and then sorry, third string guy from Bowling Green, you won't make it on the game,
yeah,
you won't get any money either, you're fucking irrelevant.
yeah.
And so then you do just like you're talking about, where it's like Madden has this 18,000 per person, and you go and you just basically at that point you're saying, I don't know, here's the haves and the have not, but really you're saying I want basically the Big Ten, you want the Power Fives, just want to take those conferences and do it through that way. Fuck the player association. Madden pays out the name and likeness deals to the dudes they want, and you could add as needed. You just contract off with them, and the people that lose is all these dirtbag educations who have gatekeeped education. They've gatekeeped knowledge from me and you, and made and let people toil in fucking slavery while the rich people are fucking getting master classes on how to keep exploiting the working class, and the whole education system can burn down as far as I'm concerned. So they're the ones that lose.
Yeah.
The kids get the money, and we get a Madden game that has that built in like we've always wanted, right? Where there's the draft classes,
Hmm.
they come in, and as a gamer experience, that for me is a improvement too.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a direction to go with it. My other thing would be, what about games like Maximum Football, or varsity, whatever it is, the high school one coming out. These games, like if Maximum Football says we're going to offer people $600. Now they don't have the money to do that, but if they go to a bank and say, look, if we can pull these guys to our game, we'll make this much more in profit because of their name and likeness being plastered on here, they might be able to get that loan. And I think it might be a good investment, because you're talking about a game where Modus Games has taken this Unreal 5 engine and made this game look beautiful. The customization aspects are great if they keep the bare bones of that and just add players, and you can buy, like you've seen. I've made my own football jerseys. You can buy jerseys from these mock teams that you've designed on this game, and put a player in that jersey and have them on the cover. I think that would be a fantastic idea. It's great for marketing for these smaller, video game companies. And if you want to get two or three guys and pay them, you know, $10,000, and say, look, I'm taking out a $30,000 loan from the bank, paying these three top athletes. Let's say it's Caleb Williams, Drake May, and somebody else, Spencer Rattler. I don't know. I'm just throwing names out. I know it's probably not the guy to pick, but I'm just saying, if you take those three guys and go, look, we'll put you in a New York City college Polar Bears jersey, and you're holding the ball and you're on the cover, and we'll make you a 99 overall, and players can go in, and we already know how to edit ratings. Like, we're fine with that. Like, when you brought that up, I was like, fine, make them a 99. I'll nerf them myself. I don't care. That option's always been available, and they're not going to take that away. I don't think so. I think that's still going to be in the game as far as I'm concerned. But I think these smaller companies like this, if they can take a hold of this and go, look, we can offer you more than EA can offer you. Can't offer all of you, but it's a college football game. It's also a pro football game. It's also a Canadian football game. You have three rule sets you can play here in this one game, and it's going to be free. The game is going to be free when it launches. So, they have to make money somehow. And I think if you put these players in like a downloadable DLC, like maybe you can get Caleb Williams if you download a $5 DLC or a $10 DLC.
That's what's going to
That's
happen.
that's what these smaller companies need to do. Take advantage of this moment. Seize it right
Yep.
now. Because if you don't do this, then EA is just going to do whatever they want. And that's the problem, is nobody ever stands up to EA. No one says, hey, EA, fuck you. Everyone's like, oh, boy, if I could just get, a shout out from EA Sports, or if I could bring someone from that company over here to mine. Like, no, fuck that. Do what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. And take this moment to look at yourself and go, we have the ability to get these guys in a faux jersey and get this marketing underway for a game that I think is already going to be a fantastic game. I think that I'm going to have a crap ton making a league and inviting all my friends like you and all the other streamers in here and making players and making teams again like we did with the old Maximum Football. But Unreal Engine 5, you got to be kidding me. Like, I'm ready. I'm ready for it to look good. They're using, motion capture. They're bringing in actual football players. They have referees on the field. There's physics-based tackling. None of this animation-based bullshit. I mean, it's a game that needs this right now, and this is probably the best news that you could have come out is the low price tag that they're lowballing these college athletes right now.
Think you nailed it with what's going to end up happening is it's all going to end up being individual DLC. And, in a way to appease the, everybody, there'll be a version like Maximum. There's none. And we can go out there and do it ourselves. We can download and have the community do it ourselves. But if you want like that Ohio State licensed New Jersey, the all blacks, like you're going to have to, and they started doing that with 14. You wanted those exclusive roster packs.
Yep.
You had to buy them. I can see it very much being like if you want roster name packs and official like helmet stadiums, you'll have to buy the Big Ten, or you'll have you can basically buy a stock version of, and then there'll be their approved versions of stuff that you have to pay $1 for the Ohio State helmet, whatever. It's like, and you just kind of like Ultimate Team. You have to buy these.
Well, the good
or you
news
can
is
earn
they've
the
got
cards
all
too.
the school's info. Like the schools have all said yes. Like that's the thing. So you're going to get all that stuff. Like that's what I mean. Like that's set. Like you're
Not
gonna have
necessarily the jerseys and the names.
no,
of the
not
people.
well, not the names of players, not all the jerseys, right? But at least the likeness of the stadium, the logos of the school will be available.
Yep.
The fight songs are available. The third down chants are available. I've seen the files that OU sent over, and it was like 7 or 8 audio files they sent over, which is fantastic. If they use all those files, that's great. But like you said, I think jersey packs will be a thing, because like you said, they were a thing on NCAA 14, so I think that's probably a good route to take. And I think you're right about roster additions too. If you want like a legendary player that used to be on the team, like they did for NCAA 13. You could be Barry Sanders, you could be, Charles Woodson, you could be, what's the guy, Desmond Howard. You could be these guys in that game, and I think they're going to take probably the same approach with DLC as well, and I think that's perfectly fine. So anything else to add before we get out of here? Appreciated your time today, friend. Anything to pile on here before we skedaddle?
No, just I would say that DLC thing makes the most sense because what you're talking about then makes it super easy to say, well, they bought all these Barry Sanders cards, so how much money should Barry Sanders get? You can see some attributable thing to be able to make a metric. Like, okay, Barry's going to get paid more than, I don't know, some guys like
Vince Young.
well, yeah, I mean, I don't know, like there's certain markets and certain teams that are always going to have like the ravenous fans, and so like a Eddie George card is going to do better than maybe like a Kijana card or Penn State, even though at the time they're both Heisman winners, weren't they? I mean, I kind of like their career parallels the same, but I don't know. It's just like you could say definitively then who should need more. And that DLC, it lets me decide if I want some of these guys. Like if you just tell me I got a bunch of money to play the game with any of these rosters, like if that's the option, is that because they're lowballing that they've got to tack on some kind of additional fee, then at least let me choose a little bit selectively, or let me use Ultimate Team to unlock them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that turns into a whole grind. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that they could do to make it work and generate some more money for people, build it into some of the fun of the game. But will they do it? Probably not.
Yeah, man, we know EA. Well, hoping next year at Summer Game Fest we get a little bit of a look and see how the product is going. Of course, Summer Game Fest happening on the 8th of this week. So if anybody is into esports news, just like we just covered, it's tomorrow. So tune in. Summer Game Fest will be live on Twitch and other platforms. HotRod, thank you for joining me this afternoon. Appreciate you taking the time. And I'll see you soon.
See you on the internet.
Yeah, you know it.